rain pushing through here, particularly across western parts of Scotland. But for all, it is set to be warm, muggy, quite uncomfortable. Many towns and cities not really dropping much past the mid to high teens. So yes, it is set to be a rather wet start, particularly across Wales, parts of Devon and Cornwall. Still some heavy showers starting to clear their way through East Anglia, and similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Plenty of low cloud around and some outbreaks of rain. And Western Scotland in particular, some quite heavy, possibly blustery outbreaks here too. And through the course of the morning, it's likely many areas will see some outbreaks of rain. But this feature slowly pushing its way eastward, so across the west it will start to brighten up from around mid-morning. Plenty of sunny spells by around midday across Northern Ireland, and for all as we head into the afternoon, turning much brighter, more sunshine and feeling a lot fresher too. It's not going to feel quite as muggy, and temperatures on the whole are going to be a degree or two down, highs reaching around 25 degrees Celsius. Through into the evening, any remnants of rain across eastern areas soon clearing away. There are still going to be some showers, and then we'll eventually see a return of the cloud and rain push its way back through into the west later Thursday evening. And temperatures are on the up once again. It's likely we'll see another heat wave as we head through the weekend. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the roads today, the A4060 northbound at Pentrabach is closed due to resurfacing work from 7 this evening until 1 tomorrow morning. Travellers should also be aware of a road traffic collision on the A50 eastbound between junctions with the A6 and M24A, with 2 lanes closed. In Surrey, a load spillage on the M25 anti-clockwise entry slip at junction 8 has resulted in 1-lane closure, causing delays until 8:15 this evening. And on the trains, major disruption is affecting cross-country and Elna services near Durham. It's recommended that travellers check train schedules for updates. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
£54,321 in totally tax-free cash could make your year the best yet. How would you react if you got that winning call?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my God. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello there, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is Dewbs & Co.
Daddy has to sometimes use strong language to get stuff.
Yes, the NATO summit continued today with tough talking, but yeah, that was actually the Secretary-General basically calling Donald Trump daddy. Weird. Anyway, Keir Starmer says that NATO is essentially more lethal than ever, is it? And get this, I quote, national conversation will commence shortly to look into the, I quote, cracks in our foundations, which led to things like riots post-Southport and, of course, the recent unrest in Northern Ireland. I've got to say, you'd have thought it would be quite a short conversation, but no, apparently it's going to take about a year to give us the answers we're looking for. What would your response to that question be? And should the public be able to mount mass appeals against criminal punishments that they deem too severe? A la Lucy Connolly, that's a suggestion of Reform UK. Your thoughts? And rebellion is rising when it comes to the welfare reform bill. Rumours that the bill might even be about to be pulled. Should it be? And in news that will shock absolutely no one, it seems illegal migrants are busy working in food delivery companies. Governments say that they will get tough on it. Do you believe that? All of that and more. And look at my panel tonight. Not one, but two mischief makers, and I like it. Rupert Lowe, Independent MP for Great Yarmouth, and Lord Maurice Glassman, the Labour life peer. But before we get stuck in, let's cross live and give you your 6 o'clock news headlines.
Very good evening to you. The top story tonight at 6. NATO allies have agreed to raise defence and security spending to 5% of GDP by 2035. That is more than doubling the long-standing 2% target. The UK also underlined its support, with Sir Keir Starmer confirming Britain will buy US jets capable of carrying nuclear weapons, marking the RAF's return to nuclear deterrence after more than 30 years. NATO's new chief, Mark Rutte, credited Donald Trump for driving the change, while the president called it a monumental win for Western civilization.
We live in a very volatile world, and today is about the unity of NATO, showing that strength. We're bigger than we were before, we're stronger than we were before. There's a historic commitment in relation to spending. And for me, as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, it's important that we play an integral part, because the safety and security of our citizens in the UK is my first duty as Prime Minister. I take that extremely seriously.
Sir Keir Starmer there speaking earlier at the NATO summit. In other news, Marcus Monzo has been found guilty of murdering 14-year-old Daniel Angerin during a samurai sword rampage in north-east London. A jury at the Old Bailey today also convicted the 37-year-old of 3 counts of attempted murder, wounding with intent, aggravated burglary and possessing a bladed article. The attacks happened during a 20-minute spree in Hainault last April, in which Monzo targeted members of the public and police officers. He had previously admitted carrying 2 samurai swords, but denied all other charges. Sir Keir Starmer is defending his leadership as Labour is pushing ahead with a key welfare reform vote despite a major rebellion from his own MPs. More than 120 Labour MPs have backed an amendment to scrap the bill, which would tighten access to disability benefits and reshape support for under-22s. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner today told MPs the vote will go ahead, while the Conservative stand-in for the opposition leader Kemi Badenoch, Sir Mel Stride, warned that Labour risks defeat without cross-party backing.
This side of the House, we are absolutely clear. We will help her to get their bill through if they can commit to actually reducing the welfare bill and getting people off benefits and into work. Can the right honourable lady make that commitment right now? Yes or no?
Well, if ever we needed a reminder of the party opposite having no shame, it's their demands for this bill, Mr. Speaker. He demands a programme to help people into work, exactly what this bill does. After he left 1 in 8 young people out of the economy.
The UK is bracing for a second June heatwave, with temperatures set to soar past 30 degrees this weekend and possibly hit 34 degrees by Monday. Forecasters say it could become the hottest day of the year so far, threatening to smash records at both Wimbledon and Glastonbury. The South East, East Anglia and the Midlands will sizzle, while cooler air and rain keep Scotland and Northern Ireland in the low 20s. The heat is being fuelled by a warm air mass sweeping in from the US, raising concerns about health risks and potential disruption to rail and infrastructure.
And the king has shaken hands with a gorilla, yes, and adopted a patch of Pacific Ocean, not your average royal engagement. That was a summit on nature finance, apparently, and His Majesty was made a careholder of 1 square kilometre of marine paradise. And he joked, "I have green fingers," after being shown a tree planted 35 years ago, now towering tall. And yes, there were even life-sized animal puppets roaming Lancaster House. Because, well, who said saving the planet should be boring? Good grief. Those are the latest headlines. For now, I will see you very shortly.
Thank you very much for that. And hello, everybody. My name's Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs & Co. keeping you company until 7 o'clock tonight. And look, who's keeping me company here in the studio. My panel, Rupert Lowe, the independent MP for Great Yarmouth. Alongside him, I've got Lord Maurice Glassman, the Labour Life peer. Welcome back, gents. I've not seen either of you both for quite some time, so it's nice to have you back.
It's lovely to see you.
And I always say that with a little smile, because both of you do make me smile. There's something about both of you. I think you're quite mischief makers in your own little ways, and you do it with a glint in your eye. And I bet there's a lot of people, particularly you, when they're going to the Commons, into the chamber, and they see you sitting there, I bet people have to take their blood pressure tablets, Rupert.
Why would they need to do that, Michelle?
Because you're quite a rare breed, I think, in the House of Parliament, so you're not?
Well, you sent me to Coventry for quite a long time, and here I am back. I'm delighted to be back.
You was never in Coventry. You was so tied up in legal wranglings that we left you to it for a little bit, but you're here, you're welcome.
Here I am.
And it's good. People will be delighted to see him back, won't you, everybody? Get in touch, all the usual ways, and join the conversation. You can email me, gbviews@gbnews.com. You can go to the website, gbnews.com/you'll-say, or, of course, you can tweet, or you can X me. Look, I like this. One of my first emails in today is Lee. He says, "Good evening, Michelle. Can you give me a shout-out today, because it's my 40th birthday, and you are my favourite GB News presenter, so happy birthday to you, Lee. I bet you've been sitting watching GB News all day long, telling each presenter that they're your favourite until you get your shout-out. Well, there you go. I hope you have a wonderful birthday, whatever you're doing tonight. I hope you enjoy it, and all the years ahead." But look, I'll tell you something that I was enjoying last night. Did you see it? I mentioned it at the start of my programme last night. The Trick Awards, of course, ladies and gents. GB News up for 2 awards. And these awards, they really matter to us, because it's not all about the people in the media industry, this one. Oh, no, it's about you guys, ladies and gents at home, the listeners and the viewers. These awards are voted by you. So GB News Breakfast won Best News Programme, and Charlie Peters was awarded Best News Presenter. He's done great work, of course, Charlie Peters.
Really
absolutely
great
fantastic.
Work. Total respect
on the
to him.
grooming gangs, hasn't he?
Really.
A topic as well, Rupert. You're very passionate about grooming gangs as well.
We've done a crowdfunder, Michelle, where our inquiry is underway, and it is, as I've said in the past, it's a blot and a stain on our national history, and we need to exorcise it
completely. And I mean, it's an abomination what has happened, and it needs to be exercised. I want a show trial. I want it televised. I want the British people. Yeah, I want British people to know and see. We've got to get rid of this thing. It poisons the well of our politics.
It's a bit like the establishment has behaved like the Good Samaritan. They've crossed the street looking the other way, and they've ignored all of this evil that's been going on under their noses for a very long time.
So we've got to, justice must be seen to be done, and the people need to know, and people need to go to jail. That's the point.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think there'll be a single viewer out there that would disagree with that. Surely not. And that is one of the problems that people always say. You talk about accountability and stuff like that, but who has lost their jobs? Who has been sent to prison? Pretty much no one is the short answer to that. What did you think then when Keir Starmer eventually U-turned and announced an inquiry?
Look, I was absolutely delighted. I've been on this, Rupert. I mean, I honour everybody who's fought for this. I've been on this since 2011 when I first... It's a shocking, disgraceful abomination. It's sinful. It's just disgusting.
Our mutual friend Roger Scruton, he identified this actually a very long time ago.
Completely, and I used to, and so for me, this was an absolute condition of life. There was no rest until we get the truth on this, and the people, not just the disgusting people who did it, but the people who covered it up, have got to go to jail. This is what's got to be. It's got to. When I say show trial, I mean it. In Stanley show trials, the people were innocent. This is different.
The interesting thing is, Maurice, that our inquiry raised just over £600,000.
He's cleaning his pen. Don't mind us, he's just casually cleaning his pen. Carry on,
raised
Rupert.
just over £600,000 and we're underway. People now say to me, because I think we played our part in shaming the Labour government into having a national statutory inquiry, we don't know the terms of reference yet, so we're waiting to see those.
The pressure's on, but this is a real...
But people say I should stand down. I'm not standing down because I don't trust the state to mark its own homework. It never has marked it fairly. And I'm intending to continue all the way with our
keep them honest.
to hold them to account.
You're not alone at all. I mean, there's so many people in Labour who are with you on this. This is just an obvious and clear abomination, and it has to be publicly exercised. That's why I want the televised trial, so that people can see what happened.
That would be very interesting, wouldn't it, ladies and gents? I would certainly tune in for that, would you?
I think they should include you in the terms of creation of the terms of reference, Maurice.
And I tell you what else should be made public. By the way, I do apologise. I'm supposed to be talking about NATO. I'll come on to NATO in a second. It's a bit of a random tangent, but I think it's an important one. I think it's pretty shameful that the sentencing remarks... You know, when you see some of these people that have been sent to prison for being in these grooming gangs, you've got to spend so much money and so much time and so much effort to actually get the sentencing remarks publicly accessible. They're not.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. So, I mean, we're living in new times, you know, and a lot of this is going to go by the by. But what's crucial, Rupert, is that this is not party political. This is absolutely national.
Right or
primary
wrong,
and
good or bad, and black or white.
And we all work together to ensure that the terms of reference of this inquiry are correct, that it's publicly televised. And then let's look at the sentencing. I mean, this is all to come, and it's absolutely vital for our body politic that we get this poison out.
But I think you're right, Michelle, because the terms of the actual transcripts of these the actual trials to date are difficult to get hold of.
Yeah, and expensive.
We're told it costs a lot of money to actually get those transcripts, and it was a lot of those transcripts that highlighted to me, particularly recently, that did come out how vile this whole thing has been.
It's really disgusting. So, I mean, that's why there's got to be a designated channel, you know, and everybody can watch it happen. And I think you'll be surprised, Michelle, but a lot of people watch.
What about I do apologise, ladies and gents, because I am actually supposed to be going on to NATO. If you're desperate to hear about NATO, don't worry, I will come on to it. But would you worry about because in a minute we'll come on to the topic of social unrest and this commission that's apparently going to look into it. Do you think that there'll be pushback from the Labour government to your suggestion of if you televise these trials, what would the impact be in terms of the stuff that comes out? Because when you're broadcasting content live, essentially you might have a bit of a delay, but, you know, predominantly live, people are going to be hearing a lot of stuff that they don't like that probably will make them angry. That might have the potential to spill out into social unrest. Would that bother people?
You know, this is exactly the problem. We've sat on it and hidden it because we're afraid anybody who commits any act of violence is a criminal, so they get dealt with. If people can't cope with what they hear and they start smashing things up and attacking people, they'll go to jail. You know, that's not the way to respond.
Rupert, final thoughts to you?
Well, Michelle, I think we're in rude agreement. Honestly, this is something that needs to be sorted out, and it needs to be sorted out, as Maurice says, with proper terms of reference, and it needs to be basically publicised so we can all understand that it's been clearly a bit like a sort of funeral of somebody who's died. We need to get it out and move on so the country can actually move on.
Just one more second. It's more like it's an exorcism. This is a demon.
Yeah,
the idea that underage girls systematically raped and no one... This has got to be dealt with.
The reasons for it, though, were quite straightforward. I mean, obviously, people feared being called a racist. We had the Labour bloc vote. You know, we had all sorts of underlying reasons why people didn't want to...
Also under Conservative governments, this was going on, and Conservative...
But it's both colours, red and blue.
So what I'm saying, this just needs to be dealt with really, Michelle, straightforwardly and with courage, and we've got to get this these girls have to be honoured, and this must never be able to happen.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant, as they say. We shall see what happens. Jill, thank you for getting in touch and bringing me back on topic, because you say a huge congratulations to Charlie. This is so well-deserved. She also expands the congrats as well to the breakfast team. Are you desperate to talk about NATO?
Oh, I love talking about NATO.
Shall I quickly show you? Because I am supposed to be going to a break, but this is one of the beauties, the joys of having your own programme. You can tinkle around with little things if you so choose. Let's listen to Keir Starmer addressing a NATO summit today.
With the UK at the forefront, NATO allies have agreed a new defence investment pledge, raising defence and security spending to 5% of GDP by 2035. Making NATO stronger, fairer and more lethal than ever. This includes military spending, as well as vital investments in our security and resilience, like protecting our cyber security and our energy networks. Allies also agreed that because the threats are constantly evolving, we will review this pledge in 2029.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, I'd like to go to 5% by 2029. I mean, the condition of our army, we've only got 70,000 troops. That's got to double over the next 4 years. There's a war on. You know, we've got to get ourselves in order. We need to have an... So I welcome this completely, but I think UK's got to take the lead and first priority, industrial strategy, build up the army.
Rupert?
Well, I think NATO's a good thing, Michelle. It's a defence pact, really, and I think what we've done is we've spent too much on our welfarism and not enough on our, if you like, insurance policy against a problem, a military problem. So I think we've got to address that, but we're not going to solve that by just raising taxes. We've got to actually cut the size of the state, cut waste, and invest in, if you like, the insurance policy for our safety.
I'll tell you an interesting statistic, Michelle. Well, I'm not big on those, but there's more civil servants in the MOD than soldiers. That's got to be wrong.
That's frightening.
That's got to be wrong.
Yeah. Surely you would all think that that's wrong at home. But let me ask you this, though, because it's all well and good saying that there's more people essentially in the back office than on the front line. But would you join the front line in this day and age? Would you let your kids or your grandkids? Let me know your thoughts. Would you join the front line?
I'd love to. I always wanted to join the army.
Would you? Would you join the front line, Rupert?
Look, you know me, Michelle. I know I've been accused of all sorts of violence, but I'm not a violent man. But if I had to defend my country, I'd defend it.
Would you?
Look, Michelle, I've been to Ukraine 15 times since the war started. And I've got to tell you, it's a wonderful thing to see a brave people fighting, and I really respect it. We could do with a bit of that. Yeah,
you've got to fight for something that you actually believe in, though, because a lot of the people, Maurice, that will be called onto the front line are the working-class young lads of this country that the current government has done nothing but try to undermine and call far right. So if I was one of them lot, I personally wouldn't be volunteering myself on the front line to defend this nation. Thank you very much.
Can I say
you
that,
wouldn't defend our country, Michelle? What's got into you? What, are you reading The Guardian now?
To what end? If people are going to involve us...
To defend our liberty, to defend our assets, to defend our democracy, those things.
People will be watching this screen now absolutely screaming and bawling, saying that things like our liberty and all the rest of it are under attack as it is already from this current government.
Yeah, well, let's restore our liberty and restore our army. They're not opposite ideas.
But can I say, Michelle, very important this.
Go on.
Those countries who have
I'm getting shouted at in my ear, by the way. I was supposed to have been on my break 5 minutes ago,
who have a vibrant economy are capable of defending themselves better than those who have an imploding economy. And if you look at the history of war, those with the most vibrant economy usually, they may lose a battle, but they'll win the war. So what we have to also do is we have to nurture our economy. We have to... The economy is not only key to our military spending, it's key to our democracy as well.
Well, there you go. Talking of wars, I can tell you there's a mini one brewing within the Labour Party. What am I talking about? The welfare bill. There's a bit of a storm brewing when it comes to people desperate to rebel against that. Rumours that the bill might even be pulled. Your thoughts?
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Sally first. How can this be good?
I'm not sure if it's good, but I wouldn't say it's bad. I would defend everyone's choice to, if they can afford it, send their child to whatever care facility that they choose. And I think when you're talking about very young preschool children, there's an awful lot of life ahead of them where, you know, they can learn that life isn't always going to shower you with rose petals and tasting menus. If it suits the parents, if it suits the child, why not? And we are talking about a very small sector of society who, A, can afford this sort of option with your preschool childcare, and it's for a very short time. So there's obviously a market for it. They've come all the way over from Singapore to set this up. It's their first outpost in the UK. So, yeah, good luck. If there's a gap in the market, fill it.
I know I'm a mother of 4 and I've got my own business, and even when we sit down for tea at night, I'm still on my phone, I'm still emailing. So for me, it's kind of like, I'm wondering if these parents are working 24/7 and they're trying to offset the guilt because they're really time poor with the kids. I mean, I've got 4 boys and I do think I naturally pamper them because I don't know about you, Stephen, but when I was growing up, I was constantly told I didn't even know I was born, whatever that means. And so it's like, I think each generation we pamper our kids even more, you know?
But Davinia, when you're sitting down with your kids having dinner, are you giving them a crisp golden spanakopita pita with refreshing tzatziki followed by smoky jambalaya studded with free-range chicken and prawns? Or are they getting beans on toast?
Funnily enough, Stephen, that's a no.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewbs, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Dewbs & Co. With me, Michelle Dewberry, and I've got the Independent MP, Rupert Lowe, alongside me, and Lord Maurice Glassman, the Labour life peer. Now, we got into the groove a little bit in that first session. I overran my break, so let's just cut straight to the chase, shall we, on this one? The Welfare Reform Bill is currently set to be voted on next week, but it seems that storms are brewing in terms of potential rebellions, whether or not there's going to be the whole bill actually just pulled, Maurice, whether or not there's going to be reasoned amendments, basically a way of trying to undermine the whole thing. What's your view on this?
Oh, look, the government's got to stand firm on this. I mean, I've got my views. We talked about it a bit. I'm much keener on cutting admin. I'm much keener on cutting the costs. I think AI is going to be an enormous force in the reform of the state. I think we can get rid of 60% of the sort of email people, and I think that's got to be done. But what we've got, Michelle, is a situation which is chronic, where the bigger the state gets, the more useless it is. This has got to be addressed, and I actually give some credit. This is just very minor reform. This is like 3% off future increases. It's not anything that substantial. But what the government has got to do, and I speak here as Labour, as a Labour man, is we've got to tell a story here about how this all fits together. There's got to be a very significant restructuring of the state so that we can make way for the industrial strategy, for the economy, for the armed forces. We can do all this, but a bloated, inefficient state is in no one's interest. And so the government's got to go through with this.
So PIP spending, PIP obviously personal independent payments, 12 billion that was in 2019, 22 billion in 2024. That's set to rise to 34.1 billion by 2029. 4.2 million people set to be claiming that. Rupert Lowe, what do you say to this?
Well, look, Michelle, I I'm very much an Austrian school economist. I like a small state and I like a vibrant private sector. So I support any cut in welfare payments. It's basically not just welfare payments. I think the actual, the DWP who deals with a lot of these welfare payments is out of control. I don't think the state is capable of actually administering a lot of the welfare payments that are now, and totally, in my view, misdirected, a bit like Motability payments. It doesn't really matter what welfare payments you're talking about. So it needs radical overhaul. But what we don't want to do is just overhaul welfare and then pay it to public servants. So we've got to do both. We've got to cut the number of public servants using AI or whatever technique we can, make the state more efficient, make it responsible for the key issues such as defence and policing, and make those work properly. And therefore, there might be 123, I think it was, MPs who are basically rebelling at the moment. People have got to stand their ground, and they've got to make sure that if we do save money on welfare, we don't just spend it on increasing the size of government, civil servants, and other people who are not productive.
I've got to say, Rupert, the profiteers of useless privatised companies are also absolutely chronic. And I respect the Austrian school, respect Hayek, but I do see a very significant role for the state in setting a direction and also in the industrial partnerships for defence. So there's got to be a renewal of state capacity. One of the problems is the state is not delivering for all this money and for all this stuff.
I actually think the state's corrupt now. I think a lot of the procurement is dishonest. I think a lot of the judiciary is dishonest. I think a lot of the organs of the state have become undermined by welfarism, and they've become dishonest. So I think we've got to have a complete overhaul of what we see as the function of the state versus the function of the individual, because the private sector's dying at the, to benefit the public sector, and we can't have that.
And I think in order to have a thriving private aspect of industrial strategy, we could talk about this as life goes on. I think it's vital to have a much more efficient state as a partner.
Well, what do you think? Are you on PIP? Do you sit there panicked by this? Or are you on the other side of the fence where you're sitting there going, absolutely, squeeze this stuff? £5 billion annually is the objective to try and save by 2030. Your thoughts on it? All very welcome. I'll bring you into the conversation. After the break, we'll also look at the causes of the Southport riots. What do you think those actually were? I'll see you in 2.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Lots of hot and sunny weather around the Mediterranean at the moment. Temperatures rising again in Spain. Quite a brisk breeze blowing at times over the Canaries. Some fine sunny weather here. A bit breezy too along the Portuguese coast, but a lot of sunshine across much of Iberia, through Italy and across the Greek islands as well. It'll turn a little cooler across the eastern Med as we head into the weekend, but temperatures continuing to rise in Spain and Portugal on Saturday and Sunday.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head through the overnight period, a risk of thundery showers across the southeast, but elsewhere, plenty of cloud and further outbreaks of rain. And for all, it is set to be a warm and muggy night to come. And we can see from our bigger picture, plenty of frontal systems moving in from the west and south, bringing us that cloud and bringing us the rain. But it's really across the southeast where we need to keep an eye on some quite heavy showers moving into parts of Kent, East Anglia, and these could possibly turn thundery during the early hours of the morning, but plenty of rain sweeping its way in from the west. This could be heavy at times, particularly across western parts of Scotland. But for all, many towns and cities not really dropping much past the mid to high teens. So it's going to be warm, muggy and feel quite uncomfortable through the overnight period. And many are going to be waking up to quite a wet start, particularly across Scotland. Some quite heavy and blustery outbreaks of rain, particularly across the north and west. Starting to clear a little more across far west of Northern Ireland, but even here still plenty of cloud and some light showery outbreaks towards eastern areas. And elsewhere across England and Wales, once again, cloudy outbreaks of rain, particularly across Wales, Devon, Cornwall, elsewhere across the southwest. And this system through the course of the morning will slowly edge its way eastward. Still a chance of some heavy blustery outbreaks of rain, but eventually clearing from the west, which means it will brighten up nicely. Still some showers around, but mostly dry by the afternoon. Plenty of sunny spells, and the difference will be it will be feeling a lot fresher, but still highs of around 25 degrees Celsius across the southeast, so still warm in the sunshine. And then Friday to end the week, once again further outbreaks of rain, mainly towards the far north and northwest, where once again it could be heavy, if not quite blustery at times. But elsewhere across England and Wales, particularly across the southeast, it should be largely dry and plenty of sunshine. And temperatures are on the up as we head into the weekend. It's likely we'll see another heat wave. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. In South Gloucestershire, the A46 northbound is congested, causing 10-minute delays for motorists. In Hertfordshire, there is a 15-minute hold-up on the M25 clockwise due to a broken-down vehicle. In Leicestershire, 2 lanes are closed on the A50 westbound, with traffic normalising by 8 tonight. In Staffordshire, a vehicle fire on the M6 northbound delays traffic by up to an hour. And on the trains, Cross Country and Elna report major disruptions at Durham, affecting many passengers. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hello everybody, Dewbs & Co with me, Michelle Dewberry, till 7 o'clock alongside me. I've got Rupert Lowe, the independent MP for Great Yarmouth, and Lord Maurice Glassman, the Labour Life peer. Now, we've covered a lot of ground on this programme. I've got to tell you, there's a lot of support for that idea about televising grooming gang trials. I can tell you, that would be box office, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So many of you would actually want to watch that along.
That's great to hear that.
Yeah, it
People
is.
support
And you know, I think it's because there's been such a breakdown in trust now when it comes to authorities, transparency, people having integrity, telling us what's actually going on. So to see it with your own eyes, listen to it with your own ears, I think that gets a vote of support from a lot of you. Now, cast your mind back. Of course, you will all remember the horrendous situation that occurred in Southport, and you will all then remember the unrest that followed up and down the country, of course. We also saw recent unrest in Northern Ireland, didn't we, in Ballymena. Now, we found out that there's going to be an independent commission to look into the root causes of some of this stuff, try and understand what is causing the fractions in the foundations of society. It makes me laugh, only because most people watching this could tell you what's causing the fractions in about 2 seconds, but this is going to take about a year, apparently, this commission. Rupert Lowe, your thoughts?
Not only will it probably take a year, Michelle, it'll cost an awful lot of taxpayers' money as well. As you quite rightly say, it's a very simple answer, and the answer is mass, uncontrolled, legal and illegal immigration. And this post-war view that this uncontrolled immigration with an immigrant population that doesn't integrate with the British people, that's the root cause of what we're looking at here. I think in the Southport case, it's also true that the police were economical with releasing the actual truth. So therefore, people are in the dark. A lot of people speculated, probably incorrectly. So I think with these things, uncertainty creates suspicion. And as we know, suspicion is not a good thing. So I think what we need with, as we said about the grooming gangs, we need total transparency, honesty about what is happening and how it's happening. And I don't think we need commissions. This is what the state does. It sets up commissions, and then years later, everybody's forgotten what the commission's been set up for. What we want, as I've always said, swift justice is good justice, and swift government is good government. We appoint people to run the country. We don't appoint them to set up a commission to tell them how to run it. So that's my nutshell view of this. And it will go on until we control our borders and behave like a proper sovereign nation.
Maurice?
Well, one moment of dissent there. One of the guys on it is John Quaddus, who was an MP for Dagenham, who I've known is a friend of mine. I've known for 20 years now. He's not going to hide. Now, it is a part. If you look at English history, when there's been riots and disturbances, it was always the way that there was a crackdown and then a commission, and they often led to very serious things. What I'm saying, Rupert, is that I can tell you that John's a good man. And for the first time, as opposed to calling everything far right, and there's going to be some recognition that there are serious problems. So in some way, I see it as adjacent to. There's got to be a real change of understanding from government. If John Quaddus is on this commission, I think it will deliver a very significant finding, which is the communities don't mix, that there's been a real breakdown of the economy in those places. Absolutely, that immigration is not just a good thing, that we need to stress on solidarity, not diversity. I would be very surprised if this doesn't...
Targeted immigration is a good thing. Targeted, limited immigration is a good thing.
Yeah.
Mass, uncontrolled, legal and illegal immigration is a very bad thing.
And I think all of this is going to begin to seep into this. So, there you go. A disagreement at last. I think this commission will be good.
Well, I hope that their ears are going to be open, because this isn't. It's an independent commission, so it's not officially a government one. But I just hope that ears are going to be properly open, because I remember covering this story at length at the time as all of this stuff was unfolding. But even in Northern Ireland, very recently, all you kind of get is these comments about, these feral kids doing all of this. They're all racist. They're all racist. They're all racist. And I think, but aren't you looking at what has triggered this? When you go and you talk to communities and you ask them, why are your young lads out on this street today? It is because of an incident that occurred that sparked this, an incident that people within those communities sit there and goes, this happens all the time. You have a situation where, as a woman, for example, I categorically know that I am more at risk. You've had these statistics out the other day. I think it was someone was like 20 times more likely to commit a sex offence than a British national. That puts women like me, and indeed actually younger kids as well, let's be honest, that puts us at risk. So actually I think we've got an absolute entitlement to be furious about this. People that love us, women, our families, our broader communities and societies, they too are furious and angry about this. But this whole notion that when you start exploring this issue, it immediately comes out about riots and, racism and far right, it's so infuriating.
It's disgusting, and that's part of the problem. I mean, what I'm saying is, if you look at now from a year ago, what you're seeing is a much more sober understanding of the causes. You're not seeing anybody in the cabinet now talk about, far-right disturbances. Things move, Michelle, and the anger that you're expressing and the anger that you feel is so widespread.
It infuriates me, and I'll tell you what else infuriates me while I'm on my soapbox now, ladies and gents, I know I'm on one now, is because when I see in the media, like I saw the other day in this report, a Yorkshire man, a drunk Yorkshire man, has sexually assaulted this woman. The next paragraph. A drunk Yorkshire man. Right, I've got it. So you've told me this fella's a Yorkshire man. If that fella was a Yorkshire man, I am from Timbuktu. And I think what is going on in the media now, where you are deliberately trying to mislead, if somebody has come over, I don't know, from wherever, on a boat, and now they are in an asylum hotel or whatever, at the end of the M62, well, they're not from there, are they? And I mean, I find it so infuriating because people's eyes work, people's common sense works, and it just feels like there's cover-ups all the time.
Well, I think, Michelle, you're right. So rather than treating the British people as racists or, thugs, or I think Keir Starmer described some of them as far-right thugs, I think rather than doing that, what they need to understand is the reasons why this is happening. And as you say, it's cultural, a lot of it. It's cultural as a result of people coming into the country and not integrating, who have a different view of women, a different view probably of our way of, to us as to what we think is the way of life we should lead. And I think Maurice is right. We need this commission to actually look and understand, so that the government can fulfil its duty, which is actually to look after the interests of the majority of honest, decent, tax-paying British citizens, and not treat them as far-right thugs because they're concerned about the state of their country. And this is, I'm afraid, a hallmark of progressive post-war Britain, where everybody thinks that, immigration, mass immigration, is a good thing, not a bad thing. And I honestly, they've got to sit down, as you say, and be totally honest with the British people, because the British people aren't stupid, they're very smart. They know what's wrong, and there's no point in telling them that it's not raining when it is raining.
I'll tell you something else that I know you feel very strongly about, and I know many of you at home feel very strongly about as well. Lucy Connolly. This is an issue that you've been raising the profile of and questioning and championing for a very long time. Today in the Commons, Richard Tice, Reform UK, he spoke out. Listen.
We need, Mr. Speaker, and that's why the provisions of this bill are so important. Maybe the public would have ever more confidence in a vibrant democracy, in our justice system, if it was like a system of a treble check, safeguard of the sentences. Say, Mr. Speaker, that 500 members of the public, if they signed a petition to ask the Criminal Cases Review Commission to reconsider the sentence, and if they felt within 8 weeks that that sentence may be too lenient or too harsh, that they could then refer it to an appropriate court.
Obviously, I've got to say that the state would say it's not them condoning violence. Anyway, Rupert Lowe, your thoughts on that?
Well, credit to Richard for raising an issue that is a big concern to me. And we, as you probably know, we've had a petition which went over 100,000 within a day, which is incredible. So we now get a debate in Westminster Hall, and we can raise all the issues and talk about, if you like, the sentence for Lucy Connolly versus the sentence for people indulging in heinous rape crimes, because many of the people who've been found guilty of raping underage girls have got a lesser sentence than Lucy Connolly for what I would argue is a misdirected social media post driven by her concerns about the Southport issue. So she if you actually read what she said, I don't think in a court of law you could say it was going to incite violence, but I think the system overreacted after Southport. They got very worried that there was going to be a conflagration of rioting, and therefore they had to crush that by probably being too harsh to a number of people, which I think they've done. So I think Lucy's sentence was far too harsh. I don't think she should be in prison. I think she probably got the wrong legal advice. She should never have pleaded guilty.
Yeah, I thought
and
that was
I give credit to Richard for raising it. Frankly, that I don't agree with him on the 500 signatures. I mean, that's just going to clog the courts up. What we need is an enduring solution for this, and probably that involves having a very good look at our judiciary that probably needs a good sorting out as well.
I'm with that.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, you know.
I mean, I've got to say, there'll be loads of people watching this, and I do have to put the other side to it as well, because there'll be people watching this that'll be shouting, going, oh, she didn't just tweet something a bit daft. She tweeted something that many people would have said was racist. She was talking about hotels being burnt down while
she said, I don't care if. She didn't say people should do it or shouldn't.
Yeah, she was a bit out of order, but the sentence is very long. Look, we've got to look at. I think the really key to this is getting out of the European Court of Human Rights, actually scrapping the Human Rights Act.
Repealing the Human Rights Act.
Yeah, I'm totally.
Yeah, but the Labour Party have just literally categorically said they won't do that. We had our Justice Secretary the other day, it was only a few days ago, it feels like, having a meeting about the ECHR to try and look at what levers and stuff we could look and amend, whilst categorically saying, no matter what happens, come what may, we're staying in this.
I think that was the Attorney General. I think if you...
I thought it was the Justice Secretary that did that.
I don't know. I mean, you could be right. The thing is that there's something wrong with the legal... I'm for the restoration of common law, and that means that I'm also in favour of judges having the freedom to pass sentence. So I've got a dissenting notion here, but I completely understand the sentiment here, and generally imprisoning people for free expression is wrong.
Free speech is embedded in our Bill of Rights. I mean, we should be able to express ourselves freely. That is the ability of the society to cleanse itself by having different opinions, even if they upset people.
Yeah, and on the whole, I mean, if people are nutters, they're ignored. You know, we've got to have the confidence in people for that. So we're over-judicialised in lots of ways.
I saw someone the other day, who was it? It might have been the MP Nick Timothy, I think. I'm going from my memory, which I've got to tell you these days is terrible, ladies and gents. I think he was suggesting having some kind of constitution, you know, like similar-ish to what they have in America, which would actually codify in some way free speech. speech. What would you think to that one? And we'll get into that and also after the break. I want to look at these food delivery companies. What is going on? Why do they seem to be hiring people that, quite frankly, are not even supposed to be working here in the first place? I'll see you in 2.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewbs, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello everybody, welcome back. Michelle Dewberry, Rupert Lowe and Lord Maurice Glassman alongside me. One of my viewers has just made an interesting point. We've just been talking about welfare reform. Brian says, Michelle, I go abroad often, France, Hungary, Poland, etc., etc. And he says, something always strikes me. The absence, he says, of people using mobility scooters. Then when I arrive back home, he says, he's blown away by how many people seem to be on these mobility scooters. Brian, have you seen how many of these mobility scooters are parked up outside of pubs and betting shops? That's always a thing that catches my eye, I can tell you. Anyway, Val says, Michelle, my husband can't qualify for PIP. He worked for 47 years. He needed 2 knee replacements, and we still can't qualify. She says, Trevor says, Michelle, it's appalling that we are talking about cutting welfare spend while simultaneously handing money over fist to house illegal migrants. Simon says, Michelle, it's obvious to me. We want people, basically, there's a lot of people who don't really want to work and we need to get them into work. Yes, we do, Simon. But I guess the million-dollar question is, how do we then do that? If you've got any answer to that, let me know. Mel says, Michelle, do you think that Angela Rayner exhibited her perfect credentials to be the leader of the Labour Party at PMQs today? It was a sarcastic question, though, because then he went on to say she never answered any questions and all the rest of it. Do you think Angela Rayner would make a better leader in the Labour Party?
No.
No?
No.
Do you? Oh, no. How do you think Keir Starmer's got the parliamentary term left? Do you think he'll see it out?
Yeah, I mean, this is an incredibly Brezhnevite Soviet situation. Less than 34% of the votes, 71% of the seats.
I call it the Labour landslip election.
Yeah, no, it's an extraordinary thing. So, look, Michelle, if I were you, I wouldn't get too het up about who's this, who's that.
Well, it's not me, it's Mel, my viewer.
The answer is none of them are fit to be governed.
Mel, we've got to get a big change going, and
we need Morris leading the Labour Party, then we might get somewhere.
Then it's just not about... I just don't get involved with that leadership stuff.
Well, there you go. Look, we talk about people in political parties. They seem to be spending a lot of their time these days doing videos on social media. Did you see Chris Philps' most recent one? Take a watch.
We're at the hotel here. You can see there's a lot of Just Eat bikes here, a lot of Deliveroo bikes, loads of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whereabouts are you from? From Yemen. Yemen, you're from Yemen. Okay. Okay, and did you get here by boat? No English. Whereabouts are you from? From Iran. Okay, from Tehran or? Sorry, you know. You can if you want, free country. Yeah, a shopkeeper in the shop behind me, he confirmed the hotel is an asylum hotel, and people, he said, arrived on small boats are now staying there. And he also said he's seen lots of the residents of the hotel doing work on Uber Eats, on Deliveroo.
I've got to say, Chris Philp, while I respect the idea, if you want to do these videos, you probably should make sure that someone is not doing the equivalent sound noise of eating a packet of crisps the entire way through it. That was annoying, wasn't it? Anyway, look, investigations now show that apparently, Rupert Lowe, some of these migrants staying in government asylum hotels, get ready, ladies and gents, he's sitting down, apparently they're making up to £1,000 a week on these apps. Apparently they're coming in, they immediately, it says, within hours of arriving, get set straight on these bikes and off they go.
Well, I think you know my views, Michelle, on the... what I call...
indulge me, pretend that I don't.
On the economic migrants, which we have here, a lot of them illegally, they should be deported without any shadow of a doubt. But if they are going to be housed at taxpayers' expense, which I think is against the entire spirit of natural justice, then they mustn't be allowed to go and pollute the economy. If you've got, and I run lots of businesses, if you get honest tax-paying businesses who are responsible now for paying national insurance at 15%, the threshold's been reduced, they've got more and more regulation ladled onto them. What you can't have is a sort of what I call a twilight economy, which is undermining their margins, because what you're then doing is slowly destroying the enterprise within your own economy. So this has got to be dealt with. I think you know my solution. I would send them to an island and you know, give them no money.
I remember your solution.
And as I said, Emily Maitlis didn't like this, but I said let the midges do the rest. But at the end of the day, we need to sort this out. And we need to sort out our borders.
Our government won't even put people on the Bibby Stockholm, ladies and gents, a place that was apparently fined for construction workers. They're not going to stick them on an island of anything anytime soon. But, Maurice, your thoughts?
No, I go deeper than this. I think we've got a Deliveroo economy. I think our whole economy, since Thatcher, increasingly, this is where the argument really starts, has been on importing cheap labour. And essentially now what you've got is illegal immigrants delivering food for a nation that's forgotten how to cook. You know, this is the actual tragedy of our circumstance. So this story is actually absolutely on the money. Well, the pressure is to squeeze the costs of labour. We've had wages falling, stagnation, deindustrialisation. So the pressure is absolutely fundamental. That's why the Conservatives completely blew it after 2019. 1 million migrants a year, and they kept on saying, it's the economy, it's the economy. We don't train our own people, we don't trust our own people. This is
a lot of them are legal migrants too, rather than...
Yeah, but I mean...
illegals too.
Yeah, that's not including the illegals. So this Deliveroo economy is exactly now what we've got, and that's the thing that needs changing.
Well, Deliveroo and Just Eat and all the rest of it, they say that they follow all the correct procedures and make sure that everyone that they hire is indeed entitled to work and ticks all the boxes and checks all of the boxes. Yeah, and that's fascinating.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing, though, is, ladies and gents, the right of substitution. So you can check and you can vet anyone that you like. But if the next sentence that comes out of your mouth is, and by the way, if you don't want to do it, you can recruit your mate and we don't really mind who it is. It's your responsibility to figure it all out. It's not going to end well, is it, ladies and gents?
It's not going well.
It's not. One of my viewers says that any companies that are doing these kind of things should be fined into oblivion, he says. Lee's got back in touch saying that he is having a nice birthday and that it was only me that he has to give him a shout out. I appreciate that, Lee. Right, gents, that's all we've got time for. Thank you tonight. Thank you to each and every one of you. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow night.
Good night.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head through the overnight period, a risk of thundery showers across the southeast, but elsewhere, plenty of cloud and further outbreaks of rain. And for all, it is set to be a warm and muggy night to come. And we can see from our bigger picture, plenty of frontal systems moving in from the west and south, bringing us that cloud and bringing us the rain. But it's really across the southeast where we need to keep an eye on some quite heavy showers moving into parts of Kent, East Anglia, and these could possibly turn thundery during the early hours of the morning. But plenty of rain sweeping its way in from the west. This could be heavy at times, particularly across western parts of Scotland. But for all, many towns and cities not really dropping much past the mid to high teens. So it's going to be warm, muggy and feel quite uncomfortable through the overnight period. And many are going to be waking up to quite a wet start, particularly across Scotland. Some quite heavy and blustery outbreaks of rain, particularly across the north and west. Starting to clear a little more across far west of Northern Ireland, but even here still plenty of cloud and some light showery outbreaks towards eastern areas. And elsewhere across England and Wales, once again, cloudy outbreaks of rain, particularly across Wales, Devon, Cornwall, elsewhere across the southwest. And this system through the course of the morning will slowly edge its way eastward. Still a chance of some heavy blustery outbreaks of rain, but eventually clearing from the west, which means it will brighten up nicely. Still some showers around, but mostly dry by the afternoon. Plenty of sunny spells, and the difference will be it will be feeling a lot fresher, but still highs of around 25 degrees Celsius across the southeast. So still warm in the sunshine. And then Friday to end the week, once again further outbreaks of rain, mainly towards the far north and northwest, where once again it could be heavy, if not quite blustery at times. But elsewhere across England and Wales, particularly across the southeast, it should be largely dry and plenty of sunshine. And temperatures are on the up as we head into the weekend. It's likely we'll see another heat wave. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.